One of the problems with modern photography is that our photos can actually look almost too clinical, too perfect. And so in this video, I want to show you some techniques for bringing back the feels to our photo, giving it more of that kind of nostalgic, filmic, vintage quality. I've got a quick and easy method for you in Luminar Neo. And then if you're game for it, I've got a more professional approach, which will give you a lot more control over the edit. And that can be used in any photo editor, not just Luminar Neo. Right, let's get into it. So we're going to be taking a look at this photo shoot here, and I really like these photos. However, I just feel that there's something missing straight out of camera. They just look a little bit too clinical, and I just want to imbue them with more of a vintage, timeless feel like this image here. So this is our original, and this is where I got to. So let's create something like that. I'm just going to reset this to the original. So let's start our edit with the develop raw, always the best place to start. Now, before I begin any edit, regardless of where I want to take this image or any image, the first thing I like to do is make sure I'm working from a full dynamic range. The easiest way to do that is to make sure that we have a pure white point and a pure black point. If we move our sliders in on the curve, we get these warning marks that tell us we've now hit pure white. We just want to leave a couple of those in so that we know we have that pure white point, and then we can do the same over here to do the same with the black. I can press J on the keyboard or just press these little icons in the histogram right here to get rid of those warnings. And if we look at the before and after, just with that one simple move, we know that we're starting from a really nice, strong foundational edit. For this one, that is all I'm going to do in Develop Raw. There's a lot more we could do, but what I want to do is just get into the most powerful options available to us for this. And the matte look in Luminar Neo is incredible for giving us this very timeless and more organic look to our photo. Before and after, straight out of the box with 100%. These may not be the settings that we're after, but let me show you, if you're not familiar with these, exactly what these do, because they open up a lot of options for us. We have the ability to fade the very darkest pixels, which is a good emulation for old-fashioned film, because very rarely did we hit a pure black point. Things could often get faded over time, and that helps to give that more nostalgic feel to our photos. We can go for a less punchy, less contrasty look, or we can actually increase that contrast even more. So this is a really nice, powerful slider as well. And in terms of color, we can keep things nice and vivid, or my preference for when I'm going for this kind of more muted and subtle look is to actually drop the vividness of the color. You know, a little goes a long way. Something like that can look really nice. And of course, one of the most powerful levers that we can pull in terms of affecting the feel of a photo is working with color. So we have the ability to bring in some color. I'm going to be really obnoxiously heavy-handed with this for now so we can see it. But as we move the hue slider through, we can actually influence the feel of the photo, whether we want a cool, moody look, or whether we want to add a nice bit of warmth into the photo. So I wouldn't suggest going that heavy-handed with it, but it's always nice to push these sliders nice and high while you're playing around with the settings. It's very easy then to see exactly what you're adding to the photo, and then you can just sort of slide the amount slider, or range in this case, to a point where it's just a little more subtle. We obviously have the ability to make it more saturated or less saturated, but let's go for that. Here's our matte look before and after. Super simple, super easy. And if you like what you've created here, you can always come down here to this icon and save this as a preset. Now, there may be some of you who have sat there thinking, well, why bother with the initial step of correcting the dynamic range, resetting a white and black point? And there is actually a very good reason for that, even though we have ended up lifting the black. And that is because if we actually set this to a base version of the photo that has a full dynamic range, and we look at the before and after, even though we've ended up here and lifted those blacks, because we started from a full range of contrast, we know that that effect that we just created with the matte tool will be applied identically to any photo, provided it starts from that same point of having a full tonal range. And now let me show you my preferred and a much better way to create a result like this. Gives us much more control. Now, I want to apply a curve on top of this because curves is where the real power comes from. However, if I come down to the curves, we have that adjustment which reset the contrast already on our photo. So if we start manipulating it, then we can't do something like lift up the black point without affecting that foundational edit that we had already set up. So I'm just going to press Control Z a couple of times to undo that. And let me show you what we need to do to actually activate another version of the curve. Well, we can apply any tool that we like on top. Doesn't matter, can have absolutely minimal settings, but what that means is now we have Develop Raw locked in. And if we come back to the Develop tool, we have a brand new instance of it. And now we can come in and do things like lift up the black point. So this is having a similar effect to that matte tool of just raising that black point. We can also bring down the very brightest pixels in the photo, and we're starting to lose all contrast. It's looking very washed out at the moment, before and after, almost setting it back to where we started from. But now we can actually reintroduce contrast by dropping down the darkest pixels and then coming into the highlight section up here. So the top right of the histogram, that represents the brightest pixels in the photo. We can make them brighter by lifting it, make them darker by dropping it down. What we want to do is bring those up so we get a nice lift in the highlights, and the shadows, which are from the bottom left, we've brought those down. If you also want to work with the midtones, we can come in here and work with those as well. Now, you may have wondered before, what are these red, green, and blue dots above the curve tool? What do they do? Well, these are fantastic for color grading. So just like with the matte tool before, where we had more of a kind of red look going on, we can achieve that with the curves. So, and before I start showing you this, just bear in mind, this is going to give you more control than any other method. I really love curves. So for example, if we wanted to introduce into the highlights more of a blue tone or more of a yellow, and we can bring this down, and that's the same as taking blue away, leaves yellow behind. So we have some nice yellow highlights, and we can create a beautiful color balance by lifting up the bottom point of this curve, and that's going to introduce blue into the shadows. If I take it all the way, you can clearly see exactly what that does. You know, you could take blue away from the highlights, leaving yellow behind, introduce all of the blue into the shadows. But we would just want to be subtle with this. So what I like to do for this kind of color grade is just bring it down ever so slightly, bring the blue up ever so slightly. And if we want to, we can then dive into the red channel, the green channel. So if we wanted to take some of that red away and leave behind a more teal look, or introduce a very subtle lift in the reds, we can do that. I think I may have pushed a little bit too much blue into the shadow, so I'm just going to bring that back down. And in terms of coloring and saturation within our develop tool, we have the ability just to jump straight into the color section here and just bring down that saturation so that the color grade we just created can be controlled and muted. I really like that. We can do other things with color grading if we wanted to. If we wanted to just pop a little bit of warmth into it, if we thought we'd gone too far with our grading, you know, it's a really nice creative way to work. So if I compare this to the matte look that we did before, which now looks quite washed out in comparison, we have this version here. We could do something very similar if we wanted to brighten up the version we just worked on. We can absolutely do that. The point of working directly with curves is that we have more flexibility in what we're creating. So I'm just going to lift the midpoint here, and that's probably going to get us a little closer to what we had with the matte look. Before I show you some other really great editing techniques for creating this vintage film look, just want to say if you don't have Luminar Neo yet and you want to get hold of it, I've got a discount link in the description below, along with a coupon code, which is going to save you even more on top of that. So if you want to get hold of it, check that out. All right, let's push on. So let's see if we can't actually break some of this perfection in our modern photo. So Vignette, that's a really great tool, usually for drawing attention to our subject. And we usually use it in this direction, right? So we're sort of darkening down the edges of the photo and saying, look here at our subject. However, what I'm going to do this time is rather than take it into this negative, darker territory, I'm going to push the amount slider the other way. And that's going to start to bleach the edge of our photo. Like, this is too much, it's excessive, but look, let's set it up with the amount set to 100, nice and easy to see exactly what's going on there. Let's change the roundness so that we're creating more of a rectangular look, and it does look like the edges of the frame are more faded. And of course, we want to just feather this in so it's a little softer and not quite as abrupt. Now, if we toggle the before and after, now we've got it set up the way we want. We go, yep, that's too much, but how much of that effect do we want to have in? Just a subtle fading around the edges, something like that, before and after. Another characteristic of photos that have been captured with an older camera that have maybe that more nostalgic feel would be light leaks. You know, optically, in terms of construction, sometimes those lenses allowed more light to leak in. Sometimes there were other areas in the photo that allowed light to leak in as well. And so you can see over here on the left-hand side, as we come into layers, what I've done here is just gone into the flares section that ship as default with Luminar Neo. And you can just start adding them to your photo. So you can just see one that you like, click it, and it's going to add it. Currently, I've got 3 of them on the go, so it's way too much. But you can see that you can get this sort of bleached out, faded look going on. So I'm just going to remove these. Now you can see what they do. I'm just going to leave one behind. So let's remove that. And here we've got this kind of ready effect going on. So if I push the amount all the way to 100, we've got this kind of red light leak going on. I'm not sure that I like that one, so I'm going to remove that. It's a lot of fun just playing around with these. Let's try this light leak, see what we think of that one. Yeah, a little bit too much of rainbow prism going on, so I'm going to get rid of that. And I think I'll go back to this one that I had loaded originally. Yeah, I quite like this one. Another thing we can do to get rid of the optical perfection of modern day glass is actually introduce more blurring. So I'm not talking about on her face, but potentially towards the edge of the frame, we could start to blur this out. And there's a really nice tool inside Luminar Neo for doing that. And that is the tilt shift blur. So come into the creative section, come down to blur, tilt shift. And obviously we see nothing at the moment because we need to grab the amount slider and crank that up. And this is the bit where we realize everybody's capable of making mistakes and blunders with their photo editing. Why is this not working, guys? Well, I'm applying this blur on the currently selected layer, which is not our photo, it's the light leak. So if that ever happens to you, you're applying a tool and you're like, why is nothing happening? It's possible that you're on the wrong layer. So I'm just going to reset that, come into the edit stack and just throw that away. Right, we're going to come back down to our actual photo layer, and we can now see that we have our tools applied here. I'm going to jump into the tool section, come back, blur, tilt shift, grab the amount and push that up, and well, there we go. Okay, we now have a blurring effect. Currently it's going over her face, over her hands. So what can we do about that? Well, nice and easy. We're going to grab the blur center and we can just move this up. So I recommend when you do this, always make sure that the central part of the blur is left right over the area where you want maximum focus. So in this case, her face. Now we don't have to just settle for blurring horizontally, top to bottom. We can actually change that angle. So let's say we've got a maximum amount at 100 at the moment. And again, I will be dropping that. It's just nice to leave these things nice and high so that we can clearly see exactly what's going on. So we could get creative with this. We could say we want her face and her body all in focus. And we want to sort of just let this just fall away even to the edge of her body as well. So that's where this is different from a blur that's based on the actual depth within the scene, you know, like how the bokeh AI filter deals with things. This is just more as if the lens itself has a blurring effect going on. So the angle I'm actually going to go for is a top left coming down this way. So it's because in the West we read left to right, we're kind of trained to start looking at an image in the top left. So that's why I'm going to keep things the sharpest, coming through this way on a nice sort of 45-degree angle. And then I can actually grab these handles and change how far the fall off happens. So within the first outer 2 lines, we have perfect focus. There's no effect of this tool whatsoever. And if I toggle the before and after, you'll see that the blur is happening from these lines towards the outside. So wherever these lines are, that's where our blur effect is going to start from. And wherever this line, the furthest line, is positioned, that is the maximum. And anything that falls outside of this line, that is where we're going to see the maximum effect of whatever amount we've set here. So if I bring this down, you can see that that is affecting everything under this line by the same amount, and we have the transition from here through to here. We don't need to go too heavy-handed with this, maybe 40, and then I'll just bring those down here so we have a nice faded effect. So here's our before and our after. Really brings our attention to our model's face. And if we are wanting to add a more filmic look to our photo, one of the easiest ways to add a film emulation is by adding film grain. So I'm going to click film grain, push the amount up, And there you go. We can see that we're starting to introduce a nice bit of subtle grain. Now, I've shown this technique before as to how we can apply this more accurately, but just bear this concept in mind. Film grain and digital noise is more prevalent in the shadows. This film grain tool or filter applies the effect uniformly. So it doesn't matter whether we're dealing with highlights or shadows, it's putting that amount on across the board. So how can we get around that? How can we make it apply only to the shadows or less to the highlights? Well, we do that with a luminosity mask, which is a selection based on how bright things are in our photo. And we can just click on the dark shadows in the photo and you can see where it's everywhere that is red, that is selecting that area, and that is where we're going to see our film grain applied. And what we can do is grab this slider here, which represents where the mask finishes. If we drag it all the way to the right, we're basically saying have the most intense amount of selection down here in the darker pixels, and then transition from 100% selection to 0% selection in the brighter pixels. And we just got a nice tapering off of that effect. If you don't want it to affect the brightest pixels at all, just bring that line down. So now if I jump back to our photo, and of course we are not going to apply the film grain with this much intensity, but it's just much easier to see what's going on. If I toggle the before and after, you can see that all of that grain is predominantly applied into the shadows. Now let's just ease this bad boy back a little bit, because it is very excessive at the moment, but you can see without it, everything looks really clean. And so I just think it's a really nice addition just to give the photo a more filmic quality. Let's go with that. As we look at the original and our edited version, I've got to be honest, for this particular one, I don't really like the light leak that I added. So I'm going to remove that. The magentas that existed in that light leak were kind of competing with the color grade that we've set up here. So anyway, here is our original and here is our vintage film look, before and after.